This is a video demonstrating some foundations of the Universal Healing Tao as taught by Mantak Chia and brought down through the White Cloud lineage. Um, and I was certified to teach this earlier this year in Thailand, and I've been wanting to make this video for a while to share with friends. It is, of course, something that you can learn over and over and over again. I learned this first about 8 years ago and have been practicing it many different ways. As you practice this, it will change. I'm going to teach it in a formal way right now. Although Mantak Chia sometimes takes many days to teach this, or at least a whole day. And I'm going to try to do this relatively short. So watching it again, and I'm going to include a link to supplemental information that gives you more background of what this is so you can study it, watch the video. But ultimately, the most important thing is to practice it and discover what your own intuition, what your own energy, what your own body wants to do with this kind of teaching. And the more you do it, of course, the more effective it is. The beginning practice is something called the inner smile. So you just sit, feel yourself connected to the earth, let the earth flow up through your body. Feel yourself connected to the sky. Even if you're inside, the sky is above you and it stretches on infinitely into the universe. Just take a moment to feel that. Throughout this practice, if you can, gently keep your tongue against the roof of your mouth just to maintain an internal connection of your energy flow. And bring up in your feelings a sensation of happiness, as if you were greeting someone that you hadn't seen for a long time, who you really liked and you knew liked you. It's always one of the feelings I like to feel. And let it bring a smile to your face. And the simplest version of this is just to let that smile spread through your face, through your heart, through your belly, out into your whole body. All of this can take place in a second. It's nice to give yourself time to soak in the sensations of it. Now, the foundation of this work is in the 5-element theory that's often used in Taoism and traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, stuff like that. So there's an order and there's infinite details. So again, I've included some charts you can look at for more information. Having some kind of basis in anatomy, internal organ anatomy, is really useful. But if you've worked with chakras or energy centers before, it can be as simple as that, just kind of feeling energy centers. But ultimately, just go with your intuition and what you're experiencing at the moment. We're going to start with a simple description of the 5 elements, and they do go in an order. So we're going to do them in order. We're going to start with fire, which is represented by the yin organ of the heart and the yang organ of the small intestine. The color is red. The part of the face is the tongue. The temperature is hot, warm, dry, summer. So take a moment to just feel your heart. And the negative emotions associated with this are impatience, frustration, cruelty, hatred, and mania, which they often will call overjoy. The positive emotions associated with the heart are happiness, love, gratitude, patience. So you can bring up those ideas of those emotions. Gratitude is always one of the easiest things for me to start with, but sometimes self-love is really good, or just love, happiness even. If you can bring up any of these emotions unconditionally, sometimes you have to use words like I am thankful for, or I love you, or I love myself, you say your name. But sometimes you don't need to use words. You can just feel the emotion from the inside. So it's nice to like understand these elements from the outside, but we're going to try to bring this practice into the experience. So just take a moment and see if you can feel some gratitude, some happiness, some love. And bring that down into the earth element. Fire feeds into earth. One of the theories here is that when you burn something, it creates ash, and the ash builds up the earth. The earth elements is yellow, and the organs, the yin organs are the spleen and pancreas, and the yang organ is the stomach. The orifice, or the part of the face, is the mouth, the lips. The season is late summer, between summer and autumn. The weather is perfect. It is the equality of balance, of bringing together things, balance. It's also the muscles. I'd say that about the heart. The heart is the blood and the blood vessels. The earth is the muscles. So I like that. The negative emotions of earth are obsession, worry, distrust, and closedness. The positive emotions associated with earth are trust, faith, fairness, openness, the openness that comes from being in a place of total trust and fairness. So take a moment and feel. You can use your hands like I'm doing as kind of like magic wands. We're going to do this more in the later part of the practice, but it's just a nice way to help focus attention. It's not necessary. You can all do this all internally. Take a moment to see if you can feel any of those organs, feel your lips, feel your muscles, feel the color yellow, and bring up an unconditional ideal of trust, faith, fairness. Unconditional faith has been really interesting for me to work with because I come from a Christian background where faith meant faith in the church, and even in a Buddhist background, there's like faith in the Dharma. But unconditional faith for me has just been everything is okay, because actually the earth element's really like everything's okay. It's not good or bad, it's just okay, balanced. The Tao balance. So everything is okay and everything will be okay. And if you can come into the inside of that experience, despite what your mind wants to worry about, dispel the worry and just be like, oh, everything is okay. What does that feel like? And see if you can let that emanate through your body. Earth builds metal. So the next element we're going to is metal. The idea here is that earth is things coming together. And over all this time of things coming together, it can compress into something more strong and solid, which is what we call metal, which I often think of as rocks, though I don't read that, but I just think of as rocks or metal. They often think of mountains as being the youngest form of metal, which to me is a gigantic rock. So the metal organs are the lungs and the large intestine, and the skin and mucus. The part of the face is the nose. The color is white, and even a silvery white. The negative emotions of metal are depression, grief, sorrow, sadness, isolation. The positive emotions are righteousness, integrity, bravery, courage. So I often think of metal as an armor, because it's the skin. And there's a term in Chinese medicine called Wei Qi, which is the most external version of your qi that kind of separates you from other things. So if that's in balance, then you know where you are, you have good boundaries, you know where you stand. If it's too weak, you often feel set upon by other things and you feel exhausted and out of integrity. And if it's too strong, then you feel isolated, which can lead to depression as well. So a type of balanced metal, like it often gives me this feeling of like, I can do what I need to do. That's kind of one of the ways that I embody bravery and courage. Those are the words I tend to do. I can do what I need to do. And integrity is just feeling like, again, apart from what all your mind thinks, beliefs you have about yourself or the world, you can just be like, oh, my integrity here is I have everything I need and I'm doing the best that I can. Righteousness, which is usually has a negative connotation to me, I've just, thought about well, I am in the right place and I know what's right and I'm acting out of a good way. So if any of those relate to a positive emotion for you, see if you can feel that. Embody it either in your skin, your nose, your lungs, your large intestine with the color white. And metal is often termed as condensing. It's west. It's all this detail. You don't need to know all this. Just take what's useful and let the rest of it go. And obviously it takes lots and lots of repetitions of this to get all these details. Um, but I reference it west as it is thought of as condensing. So if you think of like cold metal and the water that condenses on it, that's kind of the idea. And again, one of the things they think of as the most young version of metal is a mountain. And because these are people who lived around like the Himalayas, they think like when mountains are there, clouds hit mountains and rain falls down. So the element that comes after metal is water. And one of the ways you think of it in Chinese medicine is like when you breathe through the air, you're condensing water out of the air and it comes down from your lungs into your kidneys. So that's the yin organ of water is the kidneys. The yang is the urinary bladder. And it's also the bones, the inside of the bones in your body. And it's also the sex organs when they're not aroused, when they're the genitals, let's say the genitals when they're not aroused. So like obviously one of the main functions of the genitals when they're not aroused is releasing the water from your body, urinary. Um, and that it's also worth noting that the sexual energy is also used for healing and lots of other functions in the body when it's not being used for sex. So it's a nice thing to notice, and that's under the element of water when it's not aroused. So the color of water is black. The temperature is cool or cold and moist water. And it's often termed with the season of winter. So obviously metal is autumn. Water is winter. And the negative emotions of water are fear, phobia, anxiety, everything in that realm. Because the color is black or very dark blue, you can really relate to the water element by thinking of what it feels like to be alone in the dark. So if you, pretty much everybody at every age can at some point or another feel the fear of the dark. And certainly most of us experience that as children. Um, So if you know what it feels like, if you want to really explore this, you can go into a dark place that's scary to you and just feel what it feels like for a couple seconds or a couple minutes or a couple hours or spend a couple nights there and just see what it feels like to be frightened of the dark and see if you can be at peace with it. The positive emotions of water are silence, stillness, and wisdom. Um, and the wisdom comes from being able to be at peace in the silence, the stillness, and the blackness, because there's infinite potential in the silence, stillness, and blackness. So if you think of what it would be like to sit at the bottom of the ocean and just receive everything that the world trickles down, all the wisdom, all the pressure, and just be okay with it. So just take a moment and this is one of the ways I key into water is I listen to the silence. So behind all the noises, there's silence. Listen to the silence. Also, after coming out of metal, where I've pictured the white shininess of my skin, I picture the inside of my body as being completely black. And I go to the center of that blackness and fall down. So just take a moment going into silence, stillness, and wisdom. Hmm. And the element that follows water is wood, which is the last element in the 5-element system in this order. The wood organs are the liver and gallbladder. The part of the face is the eyes. I forgot to mention the water is the ears. So like listen to silence, that's also using the ears. Um, the wood is the eyes. Uh, it's also the fascia in the body. So the fascia is the tissues that connect everything together. So it holds the bones against the muscles against the bones, the skin against the muscles, everything in place, all the organs in place, the fascia. So the wood is the fascia. It's the springtime. It's warm and moist. It's the east. It's a creative energy. Um, Yang wood is like a big tree. So often when I bring, and I'm a yang wood person, so when I um, think of wood, I think of big trees, but I also like yin wood, which is like grasses and herbs and vines, mosses, even small woods, small green things. So you can bring up that kind of energy. The negative aspects of wood are stinginess, hatred, anger, uh, and I also will cross that into cruelty because wood feeds into fire. So got those. Um, the positive emotions are generosity, kindness, compassion, friendliness. Um, so you can take a moment and feel the eyes, feel the liver right here. Kindness, compassion, friendliness, springtime. And in all of these, you can smile into the organ. So like we started with the simple inner smile, which I didn't mention in all this, but watch these over and over and over again. And the important part, of course, is that you practice this over and over again. That's how you actually get the teaching, is to smile into these parts of your body. Smile into the organs. To be like, oh, it's nice to see you. I love you. Smile into the parts of your face. Oh, eyes, I love you. Thank you so much for helping me. I do this practice sometimes in 2 minutes or 1 minute, and sometimes for a half hour every morning before I open my eyes. And I've been doing it all year, and it's made a huge impact in my life. So just this practice, we're going to go through it really quickly. Feel the heart or the fire or the tongue red, and just be gratitude, happiness, love. The earth, yellow, the uh, stomach, pancreas, spleen, fairness, faith, everything's okay. The lungs, the metal, the white, the skin, the large intestines. I can do what I need to do. I'm in integrity, everything is well. Descending into the lung or into the kidneys, the water, the blackness, the darkness inside. Listen to the silence. Feel peace, stillness, the wisdom that can come from that. The liver, gallbladder, the fascia, green, wood, kindness, generosity. Can I do to help you? I hope you're well. May you be well. May I be well. May we be happy. And then you can just keep going through. This is called the creation cycle in this order. You can put negative stuff in there, and it will generate negativity, and you can put positive stuff in there, and it will generate positivity. Which one is not necessarily better than the other. One is just more pleasant to be in than the other. So that goes on to the next thing. If you think of these as cultivating emotions, cultivating virtuous emotions that feel good and that help you be a nicer person or a better person to other people and to yourself, um, like if you put in a gardening metaphor, which I find very useful, if you plant the things you want to grow, you still have to deal with the weeds. And certainly when you first are preparing a garden bed, there's lots of weeds. But even once you prepare the garden bed and taken all the weeds out and put in all the plants you want, there's going to constantly be weeds growing. That's just the nature of nature. So this next practice is called the six healing sounds. The six healing sounds, as taught by different teachers, are different sounds. And throughout history, different schools have come up with different sounds. And each person who teaches them will probably make slightly different sounds, or because they resonate with different sounds. So if you come across this practice from other teachers, you may find it other ways. Again, the most important part is what you find works for you through actual practice. Um, and again, I'm going to teach this. This is a long teaching, and I'm going to teach this in a formal, laborious way that you can also do sitting on a bus. You can also do without moving your hands. But I'm going to teach it the way Mantak Chia teaches it right now, or at least the beginning of this year, because he's changed it over the years. I'm going to teach it like that, and it's useful. So we're going to start, when you're doing the six healing sounds, you start with the metal, because it's the most external energy. And he often thinks that if you're going to do one of these negative energy clearing practices, 6 healing sounds, that if you start with the metal, if you only have time for one, do the metal. And a very simple way to do it is just go like this, just this movement, which is good for so many things in QiGong. So the metal, of course, is the lungs, large intestine, colors white, elements, or the face is the nose. The sound is just like a bunch of S's. If you know the Chinese meridian systems, or if you have any interest of that, that's in the photo stream I'm going to share in the description. It ends in the fingers and thumbs. I'm not going to describe all these, but I find this useful. It's in the hands. So the idea here is that we bring our hands up to feel our lungs and maybe even the large intestines, but the yin organ is more important in these practices. So you feel the lungs, and you start by just saying to yourself, do I feel anything in my lungs that doesn't feel good? So you feel internal in your lungs, and you feel with your hands, different perceptions. And if you can feel any kind of constriction, any kind of darkness, if there's colors, maybe it's like a dark gray or blackness or gunky, anything that feels like I don't really want to carry this in my body, in my energy field. So you kind of feel it with your hands. And then you imagine you're grabbing it, and you bring it up your body, maybe even out through your nose. And as it gets above your face, you interlock your fingers, rotate the wrists up, and make the sound while imagining pushing out that element, that whatever is in your lungs that you want to get rid of. And you breathe it up. And then you release your hands and guide all that energy down into the earth. Let the earth compost it. Then you do it again. You can do this as many times as you want. For this practice, we're going to do each organ with 2 times. And again, you just feel. You can use the words. Is there sadness? Is there depression? Is there grief? Is there sorrow? Is there isolation? You can ask for it. Please, any of this that's ready to be let go of, come up to my awareness. Bring it up. Breathe it out and guide it down. Let the body soften. Let everything drop out of the body. Things can drop out of your spine, out of your feet, down your shoulders. Let it go. Then bring your hands up to your brain. This is something Mantak Chia added a few years ago that is really useful. Bring it up to your brain and feel your brain. And then bring your attention up to your brain. If there's any thoughts, beliefs, ideas, agreements that I have in my brain, that I have in my thought structure, that keeps me being depressed, sad, lonely, isolated, all those negative mental emotions, ask for them to be deleted. And the action he uses is that you use the eyes, you bring the eyes back and forth, looking through the brain and say, I'm going to remove all of these things that keep me in patterns of depression, sadness, sorrow, isolation. And then you bring it out. Clear the mind, bring it down to the ground. Now bring your attention back to the lungs, large intestine, and bring back that positive smiling. Smile into the lungs, fill it with white light. Smile into the large intestine, fill it with white light, with integrity, with confidence, with courage and bravery. And metal leads into water. So you bring your hands, bring your attention back into your kidneys. It's the main water element here. And you feel what you can feel. If you feel like a coldness, you want to ask if there's any fear and anxiety, phobias, is there anything that I could get rid of? Is there anything I could release from my body? Oh yeah, a big part of this is belching. For some reason, if your body wants to belch or cough or cry or laugh or fart or sigh, work with that. Just let it, be comfortable with that. So feel your kidneys, look into the blackness, listen with your ears. You can draw your ear energy in. You can feel from your bones. And when you're ready to let it go, the sound is which is often spelled CHUI, sometimes with an X after it. So, I mean, the spelling of it kind of helps me there, but um, you bring your arms around, drawing this water element around, interlocking your fingers in front of your knees, bringing your knees together and arching your back so that your kidneys are opening. So you're pushing back through the back while arching the back, and you're opening space around your kidneys while blowing forward, bringing that energy. Sometimes you might want to make the sound a few times. And if you can see, I brought my heels up as well. It's just kind of creating this roundness. And then you drop it down into the earth. Let yourself relax for a second. Return your hands to the kidneys. Feel the kidneys. Any emotions, any energies in the kidneys that you don't want to be carrying, that you want to make space, you want to get out of there, you bring it out. And then you bring your hands up to your head and you ask, are there any thoughts, feelings, memories, beliefs that are keeping me phobic, fearful, anxious? May they be deleted. May they be released. May they be erased. You use your eyes to look back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and bring it out. And again, trust with whatever your body wants to do. If my hands wanted to start doing that, if you want to shake, all those things are useful. Release, release, release. Then bring your hands back to your kidneys in a friendly inner smile kind of way. Hi, I love you. Fill the kidneys with a nice dark blue or black energy. Put in silence and stillness, kind of happiness, bring a smile to it and listen to the silence and stillness and just give like a comforting, grounding, dark water energy. If you feel like you're having specific troubles with your bladder, you can focus on that too while doing this. We go from water into wood. So we bring our hands to our liver, gallbladder. Bring our attention to our eyes, our fascia. Ooh, green. Are there any energies in the liver, gallbladder, eyes that I don't want to be carrying? Is there anger? Is there stinginess? Is there cruelty? Is there like a darkness, a tightness? Is there anything that feels bad? So you bring it up. And again, we're going to bring the hands up, interlocking the fingers and leaning to the right side so that the shoulders and the hips are kind of going left and the side is opening. It doesn't need to be this exaggerated. I'm just exaggerating for you. You want to open the right side where where the liver is, and you want to breathe the energy up. The sound is like a mother calming a child. SH. So again, the energy goes up and you bring it down. The earth element, the water element, and the wood element exit through the feet. So I'll often sometimes imagine the energy going out through the feet as well. And then again, we go back into the eyes, down. So like sometimes this really works. If you bring the energy from the eyes down into the liver, and you look around in the liver, you want it to be a nice, happy, green, foresty thing. If there's anything in there you don't like, you just kind of pull those energies out. It's a very big organ, and especially you can like look in the gallbladder if you still have it, see if you can find any energies you want to get out there. Oh, that's a good point. Sometimes people will be like, what happens if I lost my gallbladder? All the yang organs you can live without, all the yin organs you can't live without. So sad if you lost your gallbladder, but you're still alive, you're fine. So we're going to bring out any energies we don't want in the liver, bring it up. Stretching open the right side and releasing that energy down, maybe out through the feet. And then come up to the brain and look around and be like, okay, are there any thoughts, beliefs, ideas, memories, things that make me think continually it's a good idea to be stingy, angry, cruel, mean, closed off? No, let's delete those. May they be deleted, may they be erased. I don't need those kind of beliefs. I don't need those kind of memories. Thank you. Release them from the brain as much as you can visually and viscerally feel it being released through the brain, released from the organs. Very useful. And wood feeds into fire. So fire is the heart. Feel the heart, small intestine, the warmth. For those of you who have studied this system, you know there's also the pericardium, which is the covering of the heart, and the triple burner, which could be many things, but it's often 3 levels of how the heat is regulated in the body. You can also relate to those as well, but we're just mostly focused on the heart. And again, that's the tongue, it's the blood vessels, it's red, it's summer, it's hot. We're going to look for anything in there that feels too hot, anything that feels constricting, gunky, hard, stones, anything in the heart that doesn't feel good. Anything that makes you impatient, hateful, cruel. We're going to try to pull it out, grab it, and say we're willing to release this. The fire also exits through these fingers, so if you like your heart. And again, we're going to bring this up, but this time we're going to bring it up the right side. And like with the wood, we're leaning over, but we're leaning over to the left side, so the hips come up and the shoulders come over. And the sound is like HA stretched out. I really aspirate that. And then again, the hands fall down, bringing the energy into the earth. Sometimes when I drop the hands down, I'll specifically want to bring up healthy earth energy to help me with this practice. You can also bring energy from any direction that your intuition feels called to. So we come back into the heart. Are there any negative emotions, negative energies of any sort, any colors, any feelings that we don't want to be carrying in our heart or small intestine? I have a lot of fire in my makeup, so it's very powerful. And we bring it up and we release it. Then we come to our brain. Do I have any beliefs? Do I have any thoughts, memories, agreements, cultural programming that makes me feel it's a good idea to be hateful? Oh, sometimes it's really useful to be hateful. It's useful to be impatient. Never. It's never actually a good idea. Check it out. So just any of those memories, any of those beliefs that we can get rid of, we're going to pull them out of the brain. Use your fingers to pull it out of the brain. Interlock the fingers and and then back to the heart. And again, bring up these feelings of happiness, joy, gentle happiness and joy, patience. Spread through your blood system, through your blood vessels. Which brings us to earth, which is how we end in what Mantak Chia thinks is the best order of doing this. Element is earth, yellow, spleen, pancreas, stomach. This is the only one he does like this. He does it 3 times. So we start with the pancreas. We look around in it and we're like, okay, is there any distrust, worry, obsession, closeness that comes from this distrust, that we can release any kind of negative energies we don't like? Again, this is affecting the muscle system. And we're like, okay, try to pull that energy. And then we take these 3 fingers, both hands, and push them gently into the pancreas, kind of reaching under the rib cage. And again, we're arching the back, lifting the heels, and the sound is whoo. Like who are you, or what an owl makes. But I will often do a tiger breath version of that where I'll go, oh, which just feels good to me. So whichever, you can go, or you can go, different people teach it different ways. But you push into that organ, expressing, and again, you're pushing the energy down into the earth. Relaxing for a second, settling down, bringing up some earth energy. Move slightly more over to the left. Imagine you're touching the stomach. Bring up some good earth energy. Feel the spleen, which is all the way over here. Again, you can take some time and just feel like, oh, do I have any obsession, some worry? I don't need that worry. I don't need to carry this worry around. And then feel the brain, yellow energy, earth. Do I have any beliefs, thoughts, agreements, memories, life experience that's recorded in this big brain that's just keeping me worried and worried and distrustful? I don't need that. I don't need it. I don't need it. Because ultimately, if you just live in a field of trust and faith, everything's going to be okay, then everything radiates out around you and it is better. Okay. So we're going to get rid of that. I don't need this. I don't need this worry. I don't need this obsession. I have enough. Everything's okay. Everything's balanced. Let's release all that worry. And then bring our hands back. Yawning's really good. Bring your hands back to the earth organs, the spleen, pancreas, stomach, and smile into them. Feel the okay, the faith, the trust. I trust myself. I trust the world. Everything's okay. The whole universe is obviously unfolding as it should. And then I often will like to just take that around for a minute. Bravery, integrity, lungs, metal white, silence, stillness, dark, peace, kindness, generosity, friendliness. Love, gratitude. And just let these energies fill your body, radiate, nourish those organs, smile into the organs, smile into the whole body, let it radiate. Now, the sixth healing sound relates to that second set of fire organs I told you about. So that's one of the reasons I like to go back through the cycle of generating the positive emotions. So the sixth healing sound is specifically for the triple burner, and which is the yang imaginary fire organ. And this sound is also really good to do if you're trying to go to sleep at night. If you're sitting in a chair, it's like I'm sitting here, it's nice to lay your head back into the headrest while you're doing this. If you want to just get on the floor and lay down, that's also really nice. But the idea here is you want to straighten your legs and kind of bring yourself back into a comfortable, relaxed position. The movement is just this, and the sound is kind of like the letters HE, but aspirated. Again, the triple warmer, triple burner is meant to regulate the heat in your body, and heat rises, as we know. So you've got a lot of heat generating down here to digest your food, and it's your danqian, it's the center of a lot of your life down here, and the heart's generating a lot of heat. So the heat often rises up from here into the heart, which is one of the things that leads to anger, cruelty, impatience, frustration. And it will often bleed up into the head, which you don't want a hot head, you don't want a hot heart. So this movement, when you make this sound, you're pushing the heat down into the belly and any excess heat out through the feet. So this movement's just like this. And then you rest your hands on your thighs and just let everything relax and cool. And again, the intention is any excess heat out of the head, out of the heart, into the belly, any excess heat out through the feet. 3 times. That's meant to bring everything into balance and groundedness as well. And any of these 6 sounds or movements or feelings you can do on your own. You can do individually. If you're just in like, oh, I have too much heat, that's really nice. Or whichever one feels better. Or God, I'm having a lot of obsession and worry. Whatever. Fear, you can just, you don't even need to do the movements, and you don't even need to make the sounds out loud. You can just make the sounds inside of your body. Anytime you feel like you've noticed a belief or a thought that's relating to generating hatred, fear, worry, isolation, depression, you can just be like, oh, delete, delete. Using the eyes to look back and forth and just imagine a wave of light going through and just scooping, deleting, clearing, and then you can use your hands any way that feels like, whoa, whoa, whoa. After you do this practice, it's always nice to just let your hands rest on your belly, which is your dantian. Let the energy gather back here in your belly. You can let it spiral if you like the idea of all the energy spiraling and condensing and then dissipating what needs to be dissipated. And you can do the opposite spiral. If you know the microcosmic orbit, which I'll just lead very quickly, you can let the energy condense in the belly, come down to the pelvic floor, go back to the tailbone and up the spine. If you can guide this with your attention into your brain, you can let it spiral around a little bit, nourishing the brain as it needs to be nourished, and then down through the front, through the top of the mouth into the tongue, because remember your tongue is pressed against the roof of your mouth, and down through the tongue, through the throat, through the front of the body, through the belly, back into the pelvic floor. And then if you want, you can send it down the legs, back of the legs, up through the feet, up the front of the legs, back into the groin. And you can keep doing this figure 8 kind of movement as a way of just regulating, balancing the energy. Or you can just sit in silence and let everything to come to calmness, so you can touch yourself just as a way of kind of clearing that. Or you might have just fallen asleep after doing the last sound. So I'm going to put a link in the description to a bunch of photos I've collected, infographics that kind of give more info to what I've talked about. And this video has a lot in it. Again, this could be a multi-day class. So take what you can from this and practice it on your own. Through practicing it is where you actually learn how to do it in your own way, for your own energy system, for your own body, of your own energy. So whatever parts of it you remember, do whenever you think about it. That thing that I said about generating the positive creation cycle before you open your eyes in the morning is wonderful. Just bathe yourself in these energies. And when I started doing it, I was doing it like 7 or 8 times a day. Just like, okay, go through the creation cycle and all the positive energies and just wash my whole energy field with these energies. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in comments or message me directly. And if you want me to teach you or a group of people this in a longer series, answering questions and feeling it as we go along, you can do that as well. Thank you very much. Love to you. Peace and health.